pattern of predatory behavior.
A former Harrison police officer who pleaded guilty to several charges, including voyeurism and tampering with evidence, was sentenced today. Brittany Harry is in Batavia with more.
Eric Gregory was sentenced to 18 to 19 and a half years in prison today. This will be followed by post-release control, and he is now also, according to the judge, required to register as an ex-offender.
Eric Gregory is a menace, predatory, deceitful, manipulative in every way possible.
One of Eric Gregory's victims was very emotional in court as she stood in front of Judge Kevin Miles today, urging him to impose the maximum sentence on Gregory. Gregory hid cameras in the bathroom of a home to film, according to the Claremont County Prosecutor's Office. When confronted about the camera, police say Gregory smashed it, the SD card inside, and then fled the home. The victim says she has struggled since discovering the camera.
You knew you were committing these crimes, and then when caught, you tried to cover it up. When you got caught, once discovered, now you have insight, and you want treatment. You want help. Well, that's awful convenient, Mr. Gregory, and it falls on deaf ears.
Gregory's employment history shows he worked for multiple law enforcement agencies in the tri-state over nearly 20 years, including as a Hamilton County Park District Ranger. Judge Miles says while employed with that agency, Gregory filmed adult female coworkers. Prior to sentencing, Gregory apologized for his actions.
I'm sorry for what I've done and for the pain and embarrassment that I've caused everyone. This was a bad choice that I made, and there's no excuse.
Gregory's attorney asked the judge to consider that his client has no prior criminal history and accept the responsibility for his actions. Prosecutors say the emotional toll Gregory's actions have caused the victims and his ongoing behavior is concerning.
So it took a lot of planning and a lot of effort, and it's certainly not a mistake. One time would be a mistake, perhaps, but the multiple times that you committed these offenses and the planning that went into it certainly are indicative of that.
Well, prosecutors and Judge Miles also say that it is likely that if Gregory was not behind bars right now, that he would re-offend. Judge Miles also noted that Gregory was non-compliant while out on bond, and at one point, a warrant had to be issued for him. So again, Gregory sentenced to 18 to 19 and a half years in prison. I'm reporting in Batavia, Brittany Harry, Fox 19.
And we'll stop it right there. Peace and blessings. All praises due to the Most High. Now I'm going to show you another video of a victim talking about the effect that this officer of the law, his actions had on her. And there you see the former police officer, Eric Gregory. And I hate when they say former police officer, because that gives the impression that he was not a police officer when he was doing these things. And that could be further from the truth. He served on several law enforcement agencies, even was a park ranger. And what's most disturbing about this is he recorded people in his own home, minors. And so that would lead you to believe that were his children, as well as his wife. Additionally, when he was a ranger at the Park Wildlife Service, he recorded co-workers. And so evidently this was some sick fetish. If you look at him in this walk and his stance, it's just a perv personality that you can see in these guys. And him being a police officer, you know, those same ones that y'all always say, well, you don't challenge them, you do what they say, no matter what, you know, even if they're wrong. So I assume these people who were being filmed, they were supposed to let him film them too, right? That is why I share these videos, to show the complete inhumanity of some of these people that y'all tell me that I have to comply to, even when I know that they are in the wrong. And even when we can clearly see that they're in the wrong, they're always exonerated because they are a police. And you can even see it with this act, even in the actions of this man. When confronted with the clear-cut evidence, he said, okay, I'll just destroy the evidence in front of everybody and run because I'm the police, right? They've been given such a short leash. You know, they've been reprimanded so minimally that they think that they are literally above the law. Now he gets caught. Now he wants to say he wants counseling. He wants this. It was a bad mistake. You know, I just don't know what was wrong. No, you knew what you were doing, just as the judge said. And even when he was out on bond, he did not adhere to the conditions of the bond. Therefore, that's why you saw him in those clothes during his sentencing phase, which he was rightfully sentenced to 18 and a half to 19 years in prison. And you can best believe that, you know, in that prison environment, he is going to be the prey instead of the predator. You know, he's going to get violated. He's going to get his canteen taken. He's going to get beat, you know, whatever, you know. If you're familiar with the prison hierarchy, guys like him, pedos, pervs, are definitely the lowest on the totem pole. But just take a look at this other video real quick that's going to let you hear from one of the victims and how it has affected their life adversely. And this video is fair use for literary and commentary purposes only. Just watch.
A former police officer learns his punishment for hiding a camera in the bathroom of his home to record. A judge in Claremont County sentenced Eric Gregory to 18 to 19 and a half years in prison. Gregory pleaded guilty to charges of voyeurism, illegal use of oriented material, and tampering with evidence for destroying the camera when confronted by his wife. He was a Harrison police officer and resigned after the investigation began. His now ex-wife told the judge what Gregory's actions have done to her children and that Gregory felt the law did not apply to him.
My kids now know how evil the world can be. They now know how sick adults can be, and they struggle to trust people now that they should. He caused me and my kids to live out a real life nightmare publicly.
There's nothing I can do to make up for what I've done. Hopefully, if I get out, to get back in therapy and live a good life.
And once he gets out of prison, Gregory must register as a offender.
All right, so there you see him begging for mercy. Once I get out, I can get back in therapy. I can live a good life. First of all, you can't therapize, and I know that's not a word, but I just made it up. You can't therapize that type of behavior away. You know, he continuously did that in several instances. We don't even know how many more instances that he did that in that he did not get caught. And so you hear his wife talking about how it has affected the children and they no longer trust. Like, he did that too. I don't know if that was his stepkids or his kids, but either way, man, you know, so this is another example of the behavior that, you know, our law enforcement, who is above reproach, who you must comply with everything they say. This is what they do behind closed doors. And this is just an example of one whom got caught. But there are several other stories that are coming out that is exposing these criminals in their actions. So I just want to share this video once again because there's not a lot of coverage of this situation. A lot of times when officers commit crimes as such, they fade into obscurity. You know, their trials are very low profile. And, you know, there's a lot of coverage. And so here is an officer. I think his name, once again, was Eric Gregory, a 20-year law enforcement. So if he is doing this, once again, he's violating people in the sanctity of their own home and workplace. Just imagine what he has done to people in the performance of his law enforcement duties. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this video in the comments. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. Thank y'all for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And as always, peace and blessings.